Community said
roads and a new park. And my MP said
yes.
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 Of course.
Nous tous, c'est yon famille en Micoud Nord. Et nous continuons pour faire progrès avec Antigil.
Bienvenue à sous Sky FM et puis Ring the Bell 93.1. Limo ici là c'est 456093. Moi ici là tous les jeudis, vendredis, samedi 8h jusqu'à 10h soir. Moi aussi à sous GVD TV et puis Facebook Sky FM, matchez ça et puis Blamicol.
Bienvenue à sous Sky FM 93.1 et puis Dr. Sigwe lundi pour vendredi. Ça c'est 4h30 pour 8h au soir. Côté Dr. Sigwe ka encore nous. Côté nous ka discuter qui ça qui a fait en pays. Nous aussi à sous Facebook et puis channel 115. Ça c'est GVD TV. Join-moi lundi pour vendredi à sous Sky FM 93.1 et puis Dr. Sigwe encore nous.
Non, la fait bail.
Crossfire, discussing the issues. Norbert Williams, Champagne, Dr. Secret, and Ring the Bell. Thursdays, 8 p.m. on Sky FM and GVD TV. Don't you miss it.
Hello, St. Lucia. Join me, Nancy Charles, every Wednesday evening from 8 to 10 p.m. on Sky FM 93.1 and GVD TV channel 115 for Vibes.
The character of our country tomorrow depends on the extent to which our young people are equipped to assume the mantle of responsibility. To place emphasis on the youth is to articulate an act of faith in a better tomorrow for our people. The late Louis George, Education Minister. It is my responsibility to tell the stories and to relate the realities of substance, leadership, and perseverance, bringing you the evidence of good governance, transforming lives, the literature and principles, performance, importance, and brilliance of the United Workers' Party. I am Diana Williams, and this is the UWP working for you.
My MP said that we would have a new wellness center. Here we are. It's almost finished.
My community said we needed a new wing to our secondary school. And my MP said yes.
My sister said she needed help to find a job, so my MP created a job fair.
Our athlete said we needed better sporting facilities.
A new early childhood development center.
My neighbors said.
My sister said.
The children said.
Community said
roads and a new park. And my MP said
yes.
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 Of course.
Nous tous, c'est yon famille en Micoud Nord. Et nous continuons pour faire progrès avec Antigil.
Bienvenue à sous Sky FM et puis Ring the Bell 93.1. Limo ici là c'est 456093. Moi ici là tous les jeudis, vendredis, samedi 8h jusqu'à 10h soir. Moi aussi à sous GVD TV et puis Facebook Sky FM, matchez ça et puis Blamicol.
Hello, St. Lucia. Join me, Nancy Charles, every Wednesday evening from 8 to 10 p.m. on Sky FM 93.1 and GVD TV channel 115 for Vibes. St. Lucia, welcome back. Let me take this opportunity to apologize for the long break. We've been having some issues with our internet, so there's been a break in continuity on television. But however, we have restored partially our service to you this evening. And so this evening, I want to inform you that we're back on, but we're only live online, and we're trying to restore the service back on television. So those of you perhaps who are not able to see us on the TV, we apologize for that. If you can log on online to our Facebook page, or if you can listen to us on Sky FM, then you can hear the program. Now, I don't know, but I'm a believer, and sometimes when you're getting into the meat of the thing, sometimes the enemy doesn't want and people to hear the good news, but we will proceed nevertheless. Okay, so before the break, St. Lucia, I had given you a brief synopsis of where we were at, what had happened at St. Jude's, some of the issues, some of the cost creep, and some of the scope creep that had occurred, the monies that were being paid, and a project that had started out at $2 million ended up at $98 million. And so the question to be asked tonight is, who benefited? Where did all that money go? What were some of the things that we paid with all that money? So I am going to play you some clippings, perhaps of some of the cost, what transpired and what occurred, and then we'll have a discussion and I will be taking your calls. So let's hear what transpired, who got paid for what.
Change as compared to their final contract sum of $11,554,015.39 paid to Halcro Group, which was authorized by Minister for Finance, Dr. Kenny Anthony. Cyril Donnelly and Obi Sadu were the two main contractors who worked directly under Halcro. Interestingly, none of the players involved in the management, design, and construction of this hospital had any prior experience with such a project.
On your first tour of that hospital, your assessment of the work done by Cyril Donnelly's construction company was exemplary. You are quite pleased with the contractor and his work. From our research, the contractor and his office tried reaching you on several occasions to discuss some of the challenges at construction site and also the payment difficulties. Did you ever meet with that contractor?
That is strange that there were efforts to reach me, because I can tell you my historical pattern is simple.
Halcro. On that project, I think Halcro was one of the main beneficiaries of that money being paid to them on the project, in excess of $11 million. And perhaps we will play you another clipping of some of the other persons who got paid, some of the other things that we paid for. It would be interesting for you, just a gentle reminder, because I know perhaps some of you have seen it or heard it before, but sometimes we just need to remind each other and to remind ourselves of what transpired and who else got money. And then we will get into the meat of the matter of why is it we had to stop this bleeding that was happening at St. Jude's, and why we had to take necessary actions to protect the integrity of St. Jude's Hospital. So let's hear who else got paid.
Were not worked according to law. They were not working. Hair was not running according to law.
The records indicate that it was Mandish Singh and Conrad Emmanuel of Halcro who engaged and instructed all subcontractors. Halcro also negotiated the cost and had a photocopied letter of authorization used to pay the subcontractors. The consequence of this unethical action is that the government of St. Lucia acquired large stocks of inventory and its associated risk, cost, and storage. Under Donnelly's contract, Biomedical International Corporation was paid $679,168. Bryce and Company, $411,000. Caribbean Metals Limited, $304,942. Converge Solutions, they got paid $893,384. Fargo Industries got over $3 million, while Energy and Advanced Control Technologies received $927,079. John Francis and Associates got $7 million. And there was even $128,000 paid to Jean-Pierre Laurent for the landscaping of the St. Jude site. Cyril Donnelly received 5% of every invoice which was paid. The question is,
St. Lucia, the cost associated, this is where your money went into St. Jude's reconstruction. $128,000 into landscaping of a property that was not completed, not near completion, but yet still we spent $128,000 on landscaping. And so against this backdrop, I want you to appreciate that when the United Workers' Party came into government in 2016, I think they did the only thing that should have been done, the right thing. Stop. Let's assess. Let's take a look at where this project is at. And obviously the curiosity of the government was right on track, because you would appreciate again that this was a project initiated by the United Workers' Party government under Stephenson King administration. Construction began in 2010. 2011 they got out of office, and 2011, 2012, 2013, 14, 15, 16 you now come back into office, and yet still this project, which started out as a renovation of just a wing, renovating the wing that got damaged, repairing the roof, doing some electrical, plumbing, etc. But because you had scope creep, you had cost creep, the project was shifting, it was changing into this grandiose thing that it was imperative for a new administration coming in to say, let us stop, let us see what exactly is happening there. And it was very interesting that a company was contracted, FDL was contracted to go in there and to assess and to conduct a technical audit, not a financial audit, a technical audit as to what was happening, what had transpired, and to look at how do we continue with this project and to continue with it into completion. And so I will give you a few snippets tonight of some you've seen before perhaps, but I'll show you perhaps some of the findings of the FDL technical report on the St. Jude's reconstruction project. And so I have with me just a few slides from the presentation by FDL, and the first slide that I will be showing you tonight, St. Lucia, it speaks to general construction contracts, and it speaks to the forms of contracts that are used. It is FIDIC 1987 and 1999, and the report says that 21 contracts, $118,109,177.18 awarded between September 2010 to September 2015. So St. Lucia, you have $118 million of contracts issued towards the construction of St. Jude's. It also goes on to say that there were no record of selection criteria, negotiations, or tender. All of them were direct awards. And sometimes when you hear some people talking about direct awards, $118 million worth of contracts issued under direct awards. Sadu, Cyril Donnelly Construction was awarded 7 contracts, and OBE Sadu, which was the new contractor, was awarded 5 contracts. The contract value for Cyril Donnelly was estimated at $49.3 million, and the contracts for OBE Sadu was estimated. There were 2 sets of contract issued, one totaling $45.3 million and the second set totaling $5.6 million. These were the findings of the technical audit under the FDL technical audit. General construction contract continuing, GE and BIC, these were 2 companies not in here in St. Lucia in the States. They receive advance payments of $4.9 million and $962 million respectively on October 23, 2013. BIC received a further unsecured sum of $1.08 million, and combined there was a total of $7.2 million issued in between GE and BIC. Inefficiencies and design considerations. So some of the findings of that audit, and you will determine, or you will decide, St. Lucia, that if you had conducted that audit, if you had that report in your hands, what would you have done? This was the report in summary. I'm just giving you some summary of what was given to the government from FDL Consult Inc. Zoning issues. Several buildings located in areas on site where the functionality appears not to have been considered. Example, the morgue, the volunteer facilities, the ambulance and monitoring building. It's like they just take things and just drop them there. You just la jela, meila, mesala, do that. You know, that's how it sounded. Cases in the West Wing where the sizing of corridors is significantly below the recommended minimum size. Many of the newer buildings and structures are not adequately zoned in areas that would accommodate future expansion as the needs and capacity of the hospital increased. The effect of that is that future works may be very disruptive and costly. And perhaps as I am reading to you some of the findings, I also have some pictures. Maybe my people, we can put up some of the pictures on the screen for you to see as well, in terms of what we found when you see the new administration came into office, and then we conducted a site visit. We can show you some of the pictures to coincide with what the technical audit is talking about. Code violations. Code violations were found to be in the majority of patient, staff, and public areas where there seemed not to be a consistent approach of fire containment, egress, or compartmentalization. There were several areas on the code violations where the layout of the spaces, it created traps for the occupants instead of a safe place of refuge for rescue by first responders. And again, we have the pictures to show. Some of the pictures you will see that the spacing is so small that the ceiling is you can just, I'm very short, and I could practically just, you know, reach up and touch the ceiling. There were repeated inconsistencies in the use of fire doors carrying the incorrect duration, as well as fire compartment walls that do not carry a tangible fire rating based on its makeup. These were all the violations that the technical audit found. In several instances, incorrect internal wall and floor finishes proposed could easily lead to contamination and reduce the effectiveness of infection control strategies. Now, St. Lucia, I want to remind you, that's not just a building, that's not a house you're constructing. This is a hospital that you are constructing. And one of the key violations that was found was that incorrect internal wall and floor finishes that were being proposed could lead to contamination. Can you imagine what would happen if somebody comes in there with some sort of a contagious illness and you have that level of cross-contamination that can take place? Can you imagine the disaster, St. Lucia? $118 million spent, and this is what we were getting. This is what your $118 million that Kenny D. Anthony, as Minister of Finance and Prime Minister, spent, and we're getting those code violations. Summary of structural condition assessment. The following structures were inconsistent with construction in comparison to their proposed drawing. And so, St. Lucia, yoni yon ba le papier, mi se sa yo di yo kay fe, me lo ale e kou gade, se pa sa ki la pièce. So you had something drawn, but when you go and you look at what is actually on the ground, in the dialysis unit on the ground floor, what was in the drawing was different to what was on the ground. The east wing ground floor, what was in the proposed drawing was different on the ground. The medical gas pump room and storage building, what was in the drawing was different. The surgical wing, the west wing, everything that was in those drawings was different to what was on the ground. $118 million, and this is what we were getting. Summary of structural conditions continued. Non-compliant features, some of the things that were non-compliant: the foundation thickness, the geometric properties of the columns and the beams, the stirrup detailing for the columns, the beams, and the lintels, the common rafter size relative to the span, the plywood sheathing thickness relative to the spans, the geometric properties of the stairs. St. Lucia, can you imagine a hospital, a l'hôpital? A kote le moun malade, yo ni pou ale, ek ou kay ni pou coucher, ek pou hen treatment, ek pou coucher, ek pou ni la paix. That is what we got. Further observation: standing water at the dialysis building ground floor level. Dialysis, something that is so sensitive. This is a matter of life and death, and this is what was happening. The biomedical equipment was proposed by a supplier, BIC, who offered technology that is costly from a usage point of view and not necessarily what is required in terms of actual capacity. The offers have expired, therefore an evaluation of the new available equipment is required. And so it took so long for them to complete the hospital. They had paid from 2013, remember, they paid for some of those equipment. You're in 2016, you have not completed the hospital. Some of these equipment have now been outdated, and you now have to look for new equipment, but you've already paid for those. This is what we found. This is what the technical audit found. I am not a technical audit engineer. I'm not the one who said it. But St. Lucia, this is what this disaster costed us. $118 million. And based on the technical audit report, you tell me and you determine, St. Lucia, if you were in government and you are in receipt of this technical audit, will you do like my friend Alva said, just throw some bleach, clean it up and everything and open the hospital? Does that sound like a hospital that you can just throw some bleach, you can disinfect and you can open? Is it safe? Is that the world-class facility, the internationally acclaimed facility that was promised to the people of Beaufort, that was promised to the people of St. Lucia? Is this what you would have wanted to give St. Lucia? And so based on that, St. Lucia, I think the new government had every single justification in stopping the project, in assessing, and in looking at the recommendations of the technical audit, and in moving forward. So when you hear people talk, and when you hear everybody say that, oh, they just stopped the project, they stopped St. Jude, they could have moved into the facility, etc. I showed you the pictures. You saw them for yourself. You saw it on the news as well. We had the media houses. We brought them on a tour to St. Jude's to show you, the general public. There were also organized tours by members of the public who actually went in and suffered themselves, because I mean it was beyond anybody's imagination as to, after spending $118 million, you still have a hospital that is not near completion, and in any event, whatever it is that is there, you cannot use it. I mean, one aspect of the report indicated that those of you who from the south and you know St. Jude, you would remember how many buildings were there. The technical audit found that there were 25 buildings being constructed under this new hospital reconstruction project. 25 buildings, St. Lucia. Vinsec. How could you continue with something like that? And so, St. Lucia, I will be opening up the lines. I will be taking your calls. I think that I have given you sufficient justification tonight. I think I have given you sufficient information tonight in terms of St. Jude's, what transpired. I took you way back from the beginning. I showed you what happened, and I've given you sufficient information so that when persons can say, well, St. Jude opened up the hospital, why did they open up the hospital? You know, you can say with a level of authority, boy, you see that hospital that was there, that was a disaster, and there's no way any responsible government would go ahead and open up that hospital and give it to the St. Lucian public and say that we are putting you into a modern healthcare facility. There's no way that it would pass. And so, St. Lucia, I'm pretty hopeful that you would have gotten that information and get to an understanding. We have our very first caller tonight. Good evening, caller. Thank you for calling tonight. How are you?
I am doing fine, Nancy. How are you?
I am good. I am very good. Thank you for calling.
You're welcome. Now, Nancy, on what you said, let me just give the listeners a few examples of wastage at St. Jude's Hospital. You know those card readers that you install in the walls, right?
The what, caller?
Card readers.
Card readers. You want to explain what that is so we can understand?
Instead of using keys, you have those pass.
Right.
Those passes that you use. You just
That's correct.
They had already installed those things in the walls, painted, plastered walls.
Right.
And lo and behold, they had to remove every single one of them. Because you know why?
Why?
Project manager said it's not stainless steel. After installing every single one, you know, Nancy.
But are you surprised, caller? Because you heard the testimony of Mr. Cyril Donnelly, who indicated that they would give him specification, they would ask him to build something, and a couple of weeks later, days later, they would tell him stop. They would send him somewhere else, and then they would tell him, well, the thing you build there, break it down and build something else because it's not. So are you surprised?
I'm not surprised, because there were loads of demolished concrete walls next to my house. Walls had already been plastered.
And you're from the south, caller?
I live right next door to St. Jude.
Okay, all right.
So I know what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
Another example, in the X-ray department, they had already installed a lead in the walls. Because you know why you need lead? To prevent the radiation from escaping.
Yes.
They had to remove every single lead in the walls again. They had to break it down.
But caller, what I did not tell you, and what the report also showed, and I'm pretty sure you saw one of the pictures, in terms of the X-ray department, they had already constructed the area, and when they took the measurements, or when they got the measurements for the machine, they realized that the machine would be too tall and it would not fit into the area, and so they had to dig one section of that room, and they had to dig it down so that the equipment could. I mean, who does that?
Who does that? When you had manholes, Nancy, you had manholes that were way above road level, you know. After you took your level mark, the manholes were about 6 inches above.
Right.
And I understood that one manhole from one of the contractors cost $10,000 to construct.
Oh my, oh my.
A 4x6 manhole $10,000.
I mean, Kola, do you think the Labour Party and Dr. Kenny Anthony and the members of the Labour Party, even Philip J. Pierre, he was Deputy Prime Minister at that time as well, do you think they have any moral authority to speak on anything to do with St. Jude's based on the information that I've presented with you tonight?
Not at all, Nancy, not at all. They're supposed to be mute on St. Jude's, not a word from St. Jude's when it comes to St. Jude's.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing again, Nancy, just I think two more. There's much more. I don't want to keep the line. The doors for that same X-ray.
Mm-hmm.
The doors were ordered to specifications. Everything came in. The doors were hung. Project manager came, looked at it. Listen to what I said. I don't like those doors.
Oh, somebody just didn't like the doors.
I don't like the doors.
Wow.
The doors were removed. Placed on a side. Came to travel section. They came from travel section. I don't like it. Waste of money. You see, people out there, a lot of those people repeat nonsense and they don't know what they're talking about.
Well, I think, Colin, that's why,
talk about these things.
I tried as much as possible this evening to give you the facts, and a lot of the information I presented tonight, these were not my own words. I presented them in the own words of the people who were directly involved. So St. Lucia and St. Lucians can see for themselves that it is not me. This is what transpired. I'm not spinning anything. I'm just giving you the raw truth.
And I'm giving you something raw tonight. They should have at least 5 persons in prison right now from that side.
I think a lot of St. Lucians will agree with you on that, caller.
At least, minimum for now, 5 should have been in prison already for that wastage that happened at St. Jude's.
Mm-hmm.
Good night, Nancy.
Well, thank you so much for calling tonight, caller, and thank you so much for listening.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
St. Lucia, listen, the children have a little term saying, they're telling you magie that day, something like that. I think that's the applicable word in the innocence of a child to describe it. It's a magie that happened there at St. Jude's, because it's just beyond. There were so many things, that when you look into the technical audit and when you actually went on ground at St. Jude's Hospital, it's just beyond anybody's imagination as to how this transpired. And so some of the recommendations, for example, I want to let you know, St. Lucia, that the government didn't just only based on the information presented in the technical audit stop the project and to reassess. But the very first recommendation before we take that call was construction should not proceed without a clear completion strategy informed by a master plan. Let us take that call. Good evening, caller. Thank you for calling tonight. Are you ready to vibe with us?
Yes, I do.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I just want to recap a little bit. Okay, so we're looking at 2011. All right, 2011, where the work began, and a cost of over 5 years, from 2011 to 2016, $180 million.
It's 2010, caller. Construction began in September of 2010. So you had almost about a year of construction under the previous UWP administration.
Mm-hmm.
You had elections in November of 2011, and you had a new administration coming in 2011 to 2016.
Mm-hmm. Right. So actually, what I'm understanding in that is that the UWP came in 2016.
Yes.
And Dr. Kenny Anthony had give the date in August of 2012, right?
That's correct.
For the completion of the hospital.
That's correct.
But then in 2016, in 4 years again, all right, then it still wasn't completed. And when the UWP came in 2016, they began doing all those other adjustments and had to work and do everything over?
Well, actually, construction did not begin in 2016. When we came into office in 2016, we decided some of the works that were happening, we allowed it to continue and to be completed. And once they were completed, we decided to conduct a technical audit to see where exactly, because you were getting conflicting report. We had a handover report given to us by Shanta King, which was saying one thing, but when you actually went on ground and you look at the construction site, you were seeing something else. And so I don't think anybody wanted to just say off the bat by just looking at it that this is right, this is wrong, this is incorrect. And so the government did the sensible thing. The government hired a people with the technical expertise, a firm to go in and to assess and to say, hey, this is the handover report that we have been given. This is what we are seeing. We need you to go in there and to assess and to give us in your technical capacity, assess what is there and to see how do we move forward.
Okay. I think the public and St. Lucia at large really need to understand this whole St. Jude Hospital thing, because this is one of Labour's party's strategic plan, you know, to use that against the UWP and really try to hold them, you know, at ransom and try to make it look like it's the UWP now who is not able to give them the hospital. And with this information that I'm getting tonight, you know, it's really different from what I thought. You know, and now I'm understanding that, you know, from since August 2012, and I heard it on the clip that you played, that he promised that you know, this nightmare would be over.
That's it. That's correct, caller.
You know, that this nightmare would be over, that the hospital will be completed. And I heard Alvina say, you know, just doing some cleaning and stuff, and everything will be there. And they came out of office in 2016 and could not have done it. What else do we need to understand about this evil?
But caller, I just want to ask you in your opinion, and I know you may not be a technical person, but based on what I've read from the technical audit, you heard the opposition who continues to claim and to lament that we could open the hospital, we're just not opening the hospital. Do you think that we have done, in your assessment, that this administration did the responsible thing by stopping, assessing, and not putting St. Lucians in that, I call it a magi, because that's what the children would call it, not putting St. Lucians in that magi? Would you from the south, right?
Yeah.
Would you have appreciated going into that facility with those little corridors, the ceiling, if you're taller than me, your head can bump into it, and all these, there were rooms with no windows, and all these kind of things? Would you have appreciated something like that coming from the south and calling this a hospital?
Oh, never. I mean, the old hospital was in a much better position to be a hospital than what, I mean, if you all had to just use what was there and to like open it up for hospital. I mean, the UWP, you know, government did the right thing, you know, by stopping everything and going back and mashing up certain things and putting back. And right now, when you see what is happening there and what is there now, we have a hospital. You know, we are in place and we are positioned with a real, you know, a hospital. You know, the size and everything is good. Everything is in place now, and people really need to open their eyes and see the work that, you know, the UWP is doing and has done, and see the Labour Party as who they are and what they are, just a bunch of lazy people. You know, this guy, one of the things I always say, and I keep on saying that, the Labour Party came in on a landslide victory, and it's like St. Lucia gave them the country.
Mm-hmm.
We got a landslide victory, no opposition, nothing. What you really get out of it? What did you get? I just cannot see it. You just did not get anything.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much, caller. Thank you so much. We have another call. Let's take another call.
Okay, you're welcome.
All right. Hi, good evening, caller.
Hi, Nancy, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. What about you?
Not too bad.
Okay, what do you have to share with us tonight on St. Jude's?
Did you say that there was no drawing when did you say that there was no drawing when the government took over the project, the new government, UWP?
When this new administration came into office, to date, I know Minister Joseph has written to the leader of the opposition in that regard. To date, we have not been able to find any approved drawings for the construction that was ongoing during the time of the previous administration. So there were no approved drawings that we can find. Now, I am being very politically correct because maybe there are drawings and maybe they are approved drawings. But to date, we still have not been able to find them. Nobody has been able to produce them. And so it was a new terminology when I came into office that I understood. It was something called as-built drawing. So what it is as you construct, as you're going, you design and you draw and you put the designs together. That's what was happening at St. Jude's. And certainly the report that I read would reaffirm and confirm that, because one of the things that the report observed was that what was on the ground and what they found in the as-built drawing, they were different. So in the as-built design, you will find dialysis unit had X, Y, and Z, but when you go underground, you find something else.
Well, I just wanted that to be clear to the St. Lucian people.
Yes.
So that we can see that no sensible government would take a project like that with no drawing or as-built drawings and just fall headlong into the continuation of the project. You would have to see where you're at, what is supposed to be done, how it's done, measure that against international standards, and then decide what is your next move.
Right.
So the government did the sensible thing to go back to the drawing board and see what we have and what are we supposed to have,
right,
and then do the necessary adjustments wherever necessary. In fact, I understood that there was no adjustment they could have made because there were so many compromises in the building that they had to break some down and they had to just build a new building. But so I think St. Lucia should know and be aware of the fact that those compromises could not be allowed to stand. The construction compromises that they found.
Do you remember, Caller, do you remember when the administration was trying to call foul and they started using that word demolition, that we were going to demolish the hospital, we were going to demolish this? It was, you remember that time? And it was just a time for them. They were just trying to, I think my good friend Rick says, pissing in your eye and calling it rain. They were just trying to redirect perhaps the focus of St. Lucian's into a demolition that never took place, that we never said would happen. But yet still this was I think up to today, they still talk about it.
Exactly.
And maybe it's perhaps because they knew all this shoddy construction and all these things that had transpired, and they probably thought that we would have demolished the building.
Exactly. So I think St. Lucia should be aware of the fact that the UWP government did the right thing. That they stop, let's see where we're at, let's see what we need, let's see where we go from there, and then proceed from there. So I have taken a look at the hospital and the new concept, and I believe that when this is finished, Vieux-Fort will have a state-of-the-art hospital, something that meets international standards.
Yes.
A place where other islands can actually fly the patients to. And you know, you have a helipad. You're well equipped.
Yes.
And so I believe St. Lucia should be aware of the fact that the Labour Party made a mess with this construction. How many years later? 5 years later, after they took over, $180 billion, and they had nothing to show for it. They had nothing.
That's a lot of money.
That was usable to show for it.
But Kola,
So,
I wouldn't say that they had nothing
I am
to
very
show.
happy. I'm very happy that you have given us tonight the stroke by scope creep. I call it the stroke by scope creep.
The stroke by
account
scope creep.
Of what? Stroke by scope creep.
You've created a new terminology again.
In other words, instead of a ball by ball commentary,
right,
you're giving a stroke by scope creep commentary on that situation, that nightmare that St. Jude has faced.
But I want you to
from
remember, caller, that there is hope. And I tried, I started my program giving you hope. I do not want St. Lucians to believe that all is lost and that we are not in despair. I want St. Lucians to understand that this is what we inherited, but I showed you what is it we're going to give you. So finally, St. Lucia and the people in the South will get a well-deserved, internationally acclaimed standard facility. So not all is lost,
exactly.
You know, but I just wanted everyone to get a greater appreciation as to why we were and why we are where we're at. So thank you so much for calling, caller.
But I still have a concern.
What's that?
I still have a concern in that we now have to find out where did all that money go to, because we don't have buildings on the ground to account for $180 million. So where did that money go to? And I think we don't only need a forensic audit, we probably would need another audit.
Yes. But
a financial audit.
Caller, if you listen to perhaps one of the contractors, it's very easy for you to know where the money went, you know. When you ask a man to build a whole wall and you ask him to break it down, the money went into the rubble and the demolition, etc. So that's where the money went, you know. But anyway, thank you for calling, caller. We have another caller.
I think somebody went somewhere else too. Anyway, have a good night.
You
Take
too,
care.
thanks.
Yeah.
Good evening, caller. Thank you for calling Vibes. How are you this evening?
Oh, not bad at all. What about you?
Oh, I'm good. I'm doing well.
Okay. I'm just calling to see all these are numbered, for sure. Not too long again to go.
Sorry?
All these are numbered.
Well, everybody's days, caller, everybody's days are numbered. Nothing lasts forever, and nobody is anywhere forever. So everybody's days are numbered.
Okay.
But did you, in light of the fact that my days are numbered, did you get an appreciation for the information that I shared tonight? And I hope you got an understanding of what happened at St. Jude's.
No, it's not interesting at all.
Sorry?
It's not interesting at all.
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
Not interesting at all to me. It starts from one end, it goes to the other end.
Right. Oh, it just went in. Okay.
What else is live?
Oh, all right. Well, I suppose that's your opinion, but thank you so much for listening and continue to listen. Next week, we're going to have another great topic, so I hope you listen as well. Thank you. Have a good night. Okay, we have another caller. Good evening, caller. Thank you for calling.
Good night, Nancy. Good night, Nancy. How are you doing?
I'm good. Could you turn down the volume either on your radio or your television?
Okay, just a minute.
Yes, it's giving us some feedback in the studio.
Okay, all right. I do that. Nancy?
Yes.
Nancy, do not worry about this guy who talked there, you know? You know what happened to him? He has a GoPro power. So that is what happening to him there.
But that's okay.
You know?
That's okay, caller. I appreciated his feedback, and we have to understand perhaps not everybody has the same level of appreciation for information as all of us. I'm very happy that he's listening, though. Perhaps in due course, as we give out information, he will have a change of opinion.
That can happen, yeah. That can happen. But let me ask you.
Yes.
Let me ask you, Nancy, I came into the show late, and I heard that you said you had some photos going on. I don't know if I can get a little clip of one, if you have enough time. If you have enough time, if I could get a clip of one or two, you know.
A clip
if
of
you do not have time, probably next time.
A clip of what, sorry?
A clip of the building that you were showing. The clip of one of the buildings that you were showing.
Before we end the show, we're going to play some clippings and show you the construction project to date where we're at. So I'll definitely show you that. Thank you so much.
Okay, you're welcome. All right, enjoy your evening, and when you're going home, safe.
I will, caller. Thanks. Good evening, caller. Thank you so much for calling Vibe tonight. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Can you hear me, caller?
Yeah, I could hear you.
Oh, okay. What would you like to share with us on the St. Jude's project tonight?
No, I find you all doing a good job at the hospital, you understand? Because at least we'll get a newly improved hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but you're careful solutions. You're careful solutions anymore. We're
Right.
not stupid.
Okay.
We're not stupid.
Mm-hmm. And that's all you had to say, caller?
No, that's not all I have to say. Save as much as you can because you're going out.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for calling, caller. All right. I am very happy, St. Lucia, I have to say to you, I'm very happy that members, perhaps who have a difference of opinion to us, they're still listening. So, caller, I really do appreciate that you are listening. And I want you to continue to listen. It's okay for us to have a difference of opinion. But at the end of the day, I just want to remind you that everything that we share on this show is factual information. So it's either you can accept the facts or you can deny them. We have another caller. Good evening, caller. Thank you so much for calling Vibe. How are you this evening?
Good night, Nancy.
Good night. How are you?
I didn't see the whole show. But what I saw, what I behind those jokers, those are guys that sell for mediocrity. They don't know better. They're bush guys. That's what they are. Okay? And the whole of that SRP did lock it up. Bottom line, you need to lock it up. Enough is enough for those guys, man. You mean everything those guys did is nonsense, man. And drinking toast of Don Bon, champagne and caviar and nonsense. I tell people stupid. Those two guys are called a bunch of jackasses. Simple. Those are the kind of guys that put Kenyatta in power. Those are the kind of guys that will get in pocket grease. Okay? Enough is enough, boy.
Well, caller, I can certainly tell you that when we came into office and we did the assessment, that was exactly the sentiment of the administration. That enough is enough with reference to St. Jude's. We needed to do better. We needed to come better. And so we decided to do what was right. And I want to read again to St. Lucia, based on the recommendation of the technical audit, the very first recommendation, caller, was construction should not proceed without a clear completion strategy informed by a master plan. And so we had to go back to the drawing board. We had to look at what was there. Remember, I told you, caller, that we inherited 25 structures all over the place, spread across the property. And so it called for serious assessment.
I call that a Hitler somebody camp. Hitler somebody camp. Tell those guys pay so Michael Shasta is that money. That Shati to pay so Michael Shasta is $66,000. And a tragedy they've done. But as we have to have the audacity to come and somebody want power? Really? And we should be a war, boy. Give those SFPs a walk.
No, well, caller, I don't want us to use that language in terms of war and everything. We are a peaceful nation, a peaceful society.
That's it. I'm telling you the bullshit those guys be doing, okay? Giving us a 6 or 9 every day. I'm tired of it, man.
No, well, you have a new administration. You have your government who is certainly going to do better, and we have done better than that. So, thank you very much, caller. We have some other people calling.
I am saying that we think ourselves wrong, and those jackasses defending those idiots. Those guys did go in the front of fire squad, okay? Have a good night.
You too, caller. Thank you. Thank you so much, caller. I know the caller is really passionate, perhaps, about the issue, and a lot of St. Lucians are very passionate about the St. Jude's issue, because some persons have been asking, why did it take so long for you to begin construction? And so, St. Lucia, I hope you got an appreciation as to why it took us so long to begin reconstruction, as I want to call it. That it is not something that, you know, you just start, you just continue. You have to take some time. We have another caller. Good evening, caller. Thank you for calling. How are you doing today? Caller, can you hear me? I'm not sure. Caller, can you hear me? I think we're having some challenges with this caller, so we'll take another call on our main line. Caller, if you want to try again. Good evening, caller. Thank you for calling Vibe. We're way out of time, so thank you for calling. You may be our last caller.
I think so too. Good night, Miss Leslie.
Good night.
I like the way you handle these two guys. Very professional.
I'm trying my best, caller.
Yeah, let them say whatever they want to say.
We just want them to listen, you know, caller. I just want them to hear the facts and to give them the information. It's up to them what they do with it.
And one thing, when you ask him the question, you say that he's not interested, but he just has to run and go on the other side. That's the kind of mentality these guys have. Regardless of the evidence, they try and ignore the evidence. That's the kind of person they are.
Yes. It's unfortunate.
Yes.
But is there anything that stood out for you on the St. Jude's reconstruction project, caller?
Yes. Because when you check about the 25 building and the amount of money that we said, what are we doing in that 25 buildings? What are we going to put in there? What?
Well, caller, I want to inform you that based on the assessment, and which is the right thing that we did, a lot of the buildings, we're not going to demolish them as the opposition has been saying. We will be using them. We will be finding alternative use for some of the buildings. We've been in discussion. The Prime Minister has said over and over again, we've been in discussion with medical schools to see how we can use the facility for other uses. It's already there. We've spent our money, and so we need to find some use for it. But I also want St. Lucians to know that we have now constructed a new wing and a state-of-the-art facility that will complement the existing structure.
Because I was just about to say, didn't the Prime Minister said, well, they had a talk with the Spartan University?
We've been having talks with various medical schools, not only Spartan, but other medical schools who are interested. And so we're pursuing it. But our priority right now is the completion of the main hospital to ensure that we can finally move our people out of the stadium.
Our local
people. Well, thank you so much for calling, Colin. Thank you for listening. Please encourage your friends and your family next week to listen to Vibe. It's very factual and information that is necessary for the St. Lucian public. Have a good evening, caller.
You as well.
Well, St. Lucia, we're out of time. And it was a very, very interesting discussion tonight. I know that you have learned a lot, but it's time for me to make my exit. I just want to inform you again that the construction continues, and very soon the government will be making an announcement as to the transitioning from the stadium into the hospital. Some persons have asked, do we have approved plans for the construction? I want to say yes, we have the documents. I have them right there. I brought them just in case anybody asked. The arrangement that we have had with the Department of Planning, has been to give us phased approvals based on the architectural design, and then we will be submitting to the DCA, the MEP. And once this is approved, then we will get our full approval for the entire facility. But as we continue to construct, we have gotten phased approvals for the construction. And so St. Lucia, here we are. You know, I've told you what the problem was. Kenny Anthony did not provide any supervision to this project. You had wastage of funds, you had scope creep, you had cost creep, and you had shoddy and poor construction. A caring government came into office and we did the right thing. We stopped, we assessed, we look at the recommendations, and today I am very pleased to say that we are well on the way to delivering to you a modern, internationally acceptable hospital. St. Lucia, we will deliver. And if my technicians can put on the screen again the pictures to date, we took the pictures today just to ensure that we were giving you the very latest in terms of what is happening on St. Jude's. This is what your final facility will be, a modern level 4 structure. Finally, the people of St. Lucia will get what they deserve. St. Lucia, we've come to the end of our program tonight. I am so grateful for your calls. I'm grateful for your support. A lot of people on Facebook, all the messages, I've been watching them. Thank you so much for your support. I hope everyone has a good night. And again, as you go out, when you hear people talking about St. Jude's, tell them, I have the facts, I have the information, and give them the correct information. Thank you very much, and have a good night. Hello, St. Lucia. Join me, Nancy Charles, every Wednesday evening from 8 to 10 p.m. on Sky FM 93.1 and GVD TV channel 115 for Vibes.
The character of our country tomorrow depends on the extent to which our young people are equipped to assume the mantle of responsibility. To place emphasis on the youth is to articulate an act of faith in a better tomorrow for our people. The late Louis George, Education Minister. It is my responsibility to tell the stories and to relate the realities of substance, leadership, and perseverance, bringing you the evidence of good governance, transforming lives, the literature and principles, performance, importance, and brilliance of the United Workers' Party. I am Diana Williams, and this is the UWP Working for You.
My MP said that we would have a new wellness center. Here we are. It's almost finished.
My community said we needed a new wing to our secondary school, and my MP said yes.
My sister said she needed help to find a job, so my MP created a job fair.
Our athlete said we needed better sporting facilities.
A new early childhood development center.
My neighbors said.
My sister said.
The children said.
Community said.
Roads and a new park. And my MP said.
Yes.
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 Of course.
Nous toutes, c'est yon famille en Mikoud-Nord. À nous continuer pour faire progrès avec Antigil.
Bienvenue à sous Sky FM et puis ring the bell 93.1. Limo ici là c'est 456093. Moi ici là tous les jeudis, vendredis, samedi 8h jusqu'à 10h soir. Moi aussi à sous GVD TV et puis Facebook Sky FM, matchez ça et puis Blamicol.
Bienvenue à Sky FM 93.1 et puis Dr. Sigwe lundi pour vendredi. Ça c'est 4h30 pour 8h au soir. Côté Dr. Sigwe ka encore nous. Côté nous ka discuter qui ça qui a fait en pays. Nous aussi à sous Facebook et puis channel 115. Ça c'est DVD TV. Join-moi lundi pour vendredi à sous Sky FM 93.1 et puis Dr. Sigwe encore nous.
Crossfire, discussing the issues. Norbert Williams, Champagne, Dr. Secret, and Ring the Bell. Thursdays, 8 p.m. on Sky FM and GVD TV. Don't you miss it.